All right, let's dive into one of the world's most incredible spiritual texts, the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to see what it has to say about maybe the biggest mystery of all: what actually happens when we die. So, let me ask you this. What if your whole life, every single thing you do, every thought you have, was all just practice for one single critical moment? It sounds intense, right? But that's exactly how the Gita frames our entire existence. It all comes down to the moment of our death. And this brings us to the first huge idea, the final thought. According to the Gita, your state of mind, the very consciousness you hold at the moment you leave your body, well, it's more important than you can possibly imagine. Okay, so this is really the core principle right here in chapter 8. Lord Krishna tells the great warrior Arjuna that if you can remember the divine at the time of death, you attain that divine nature. And listen to how certain he is. There is no doubt about this. It's not a suggestion, it's presented as a spiritual law, like gravity. So let's just let that sink in. Your very last conscious thought isn't just a fleeting memory. Nope. It's the seed that grows into your next existence. It literally sets the entire trajectory for your soul. But that brings up a massive question, doesn't it? I mean, how could anyone possibly control their thoughts in a moment that intense? Well, the Gita's answer is that your final thought is never, ever random. It all comes down to this principle of sada tadvava bhavita. Basically, it means that you become whatever you've been constantly absorbed in. Your mind will automatically go to whatever you've focused on throughout your entire life. It's a cumulative effect. And that leads to this incredible aha moment. If our life's focus is what determines our final thought, then the real work isn't going to happen at the last minute. The real work is right here, right now. It's happening in every single moment of our daily lives. So how do we actually do this? How do we practice? Krishna's advice to Arjuna is just so practical. He doesn't say, hey, go run off to a cave and meditate. He says, remember me and do your duty. For Arjuna, that meant fighting a battle. For us, it's our jobs, our families, all our responsibilities. The whole idea is to weave spiritual consciousness into our active everyday lives, not keep it separate. And there's a name for this kind of discipline. It's called Abhyasa Yoga, the yoga of consistent practice. It's about training the mind not to wander off, to not deviate. Think of it like building a mental muscle. You're training yourself to stay focused on a higher purpose, even when life gets chaotic. And to help us with this focus, the text gives these incredible qualities of the divine to meditate on. It's described as all-knowing, older than time itself, smaller than the tiniest atom, yet as brilliant as the sun. Now, these aren't just pretty words. They're designed as powerful focal points to help our minds connect with a reality that's beyond our normal senses. Okay, but you might be wondering, why go through all this trouble? What's the real motivation here? Well, the Gita makes it super clear by showing us the two possible destinations, the two realities our soul can end up in. And let me tell you, the Gita does not pull any punches when it talks about our current reality. It describes the material world in really stark terms, as a place that is, by its very nature, temporary. And because of that, it's always going to be full of suffering. The specific Sanskrit words here are really powerful. Dukhalayam, it literally means an abode of misery, and ashashwatam means non-eternal or temporary. The logic is pretty straightforward. Anything that is temporary is ultimately a source of suffering, simply because it has to end. And just in case you thought temporary meant, a human lifespan, the Gita blows the scale wide open. Get this. A single day for the creator god Brahma lasts for 4.32 billion human years. But even that massive, mind-boggling amount of time, even the entire universe he oversees, is still temporary. It all has a beginning and an end. So let's put it all together, side by side. On one hand, you've got the material realm. It's temporary, it's full of misery, and it's stuck in a cycle of rebirth. But on the other hand, you have the supreme abode. It's eternal, it's perfect, and, this is the big one, it's a place of no return. This is the fundamental choice the Gita says we're all facing. And this, right here, this is the ultimate promise. Krishna says his supreme abode is the one place you go to and never have to come back from. This is liberation. An end to that whole painful cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age. This is the real deal. So, for the last piece of this puzzle, the Gita describes the two different journeys the soul can take right after leaving the body.
And which path you take is all determined by the consciousness you've built up over your life.
Now, this part is really fascinating and very symbolic. The text describes a path of light. It's associated with symbols of knowledge and purity, things like fire, light, and the daytime. So yogis who leave the body with a consciousness that's full of this spiritual light, they travel this path and they don't have to come back. The contrast, of course, is a path of darkness for those whose minds are still caught up in material things. That path leads right back here to another rebirth.
But then, after explaining all of that, the Gita gives us the ultimate shortcut, the master key, if you will. It says the most direct, surefire way to get to that supreme destination is through ananyaya bhaktiya, pure, unwavering devotion. It's the one thing that basically overrides all the other complexities. And that brings us right back to where we started, forcing us to turn this whole question inward. You see, this isn't just some philosophy for a far-off future. It's a very real, very personal question for right now, today. If your life is the practice, what exactly are you practicing for?